What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's spoiler-filled discussion of Apple TV original series Severance. This will talk about the first five episodes of the series, which is directed by Ben Stiller and Aoife McArdle. Now, before we begin, if you like this channel, awesome! Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome! Hit that like button, as well as commenting below any video you watch, including this one. Okay, so, Apple TV Plus is a series or a streaming service that has come a long way since it first started. And to be fairly honest, that is a pretty big understatement, because as much as the morning show and C and For All Mankind Dickinson were decently received, they weren't considered great television. I know the morning show got a lot of crap for what it was, and I know For All Mankind had some pretty decent views, especially in the second season. But I've always compared a streaming service to a video game console, and kind of go with me on this. The first year of a video game console is usually not that great. They put out crappy games. Same thing with streaming services like HBO Max. They're not usually that great when they start out, but give it some time and you start getting some really interesting television, some really cool television. It's just, they have to work out the kinks. They have to get their dots and T's and I's signed so that these series can get started, so they can build up their library. But now Apple TV Plus has been on an interesting streak thanks to a show called Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso became a darling, won a bunch of Emmys, probably one of the best TV shows on the market right now when it comes to a good, fun comedy in its own right. But then we started getting other shows like The After Party and, Suspicion, and of course Finch and Greyhound and stuff like that, as well as the Peanuts, Charlie Brown and stuff like that. And it's proven itself to be a pretty viable streaming service for the price. I think it's like $7.99 or something like that. It's not really that expensive. But with all that said and done, the show Severance came along. Now, the reason I say that, and the reason I sound so excited, because I really am, is Severance is a series created by Dan Erickson, who is an individual that literally has no IMDb credits at this point, at least for the time being. I found out through reading through Wikipedia and stuff like that Dan Erickson sold his script to Red Hour Productions, which is Ben Stiller's company. Ben Stiller talks about how he spent 5 years helping develop this project with Dan Erickson. And eventually, at some point, Apple TV Plus bought the rights, and they filmed it, and now it's premiered, and we're 5 episodes in. But sometimes a show that you're never sure about, that you worry is going to be a little too obtuse, ends up being quite remarkable. And so I've been listening around and hearing people talk about this show and about how amazing and how crazy it is, but how just compelling it really is. And you don't hear that a lot. You usually hear these shows are great, they're fun, they're entertaining, but you never hear stuff about unique and defining and probably one of the best things you've ever seen. You can become skeptical because you realize that that's a big statement. Well, with that said, that statement happens to be true. Now, there are shows like Dave, there are shows like Devs, there are shows on the market right now which are really, really good, Ted Lasso, but I don't think a show has kept my attention or made me buzzed as much as Severance has. I don't usually get into what I think of the show off the top, but I have to talk about this show for the simple fact that this show is the most unique show, the most compelling show, one of the craziest and greatest things I've watched since Lost, to be fairly honest. Now, with that said, I love Suspicion, I love After Party, but there are shows that have been done before. Severance is a show that there isn't very many shows like it at all. This is as close as getting to Charlie Kaufman, being John Malkovich territory that I've ever seen. This is a show that's so unique, so absurd, but so effective in its storytelling, so compelling in its storytelling, that I feel like I'm watching something truly original, and that doesn't happen very often. It really doesn't. It's something so crazy to think that a company like Apple would buy a project from a writer and it be something so unique. And that just, I don't know what else to say. This show is absolutely amazing. It really is. It's probably, at this point of 5 episodes, one of the best shows I've ever seen, on the simple fact of just its storytelling, its uniqueness, its mystery box of material. And I don't know where to begin, but this is a series that I was completely taken aback, and we still have, I think, 6 through 9 to talk about. I'm doing 5 episodes now because I literally just started watching it, so I had to talk about the series. And now that we have, I've seen episode 5, and then of course 6 through 9 I'll watch later on and talk about it week by week to kind of go in my mode that I usually do. But I'm just aghast. I'm just really am. It's just crazy to think about. But with that said, for the most part, this is a spoiler discussion, so I will be talking about the ins and outs of this show. But I'm not going to go 5 hours long talking about the whole first 5 episodes. I just want to talk about the basics and why I love this show so much. But to do that, you have to talk about the kind of premise of the show. So the first half hour of the show is about a workplace at a place called Lumen, and Lumen is this corporation that's very controversial for the things it's been doing. But it's from what I've gathered, it is on the outskirts a research and development company that is doing whatever mystery projects. They're not really well known. And the main character of the show, or one of the main characters of the show, is Adam Scott's character, who plays Mark. And Mark works for, I think it's RMD or RMB or MRB or whatever. It's a research division of this Lumen company. And what they do is he has 2 employees. His friend PD unfortunately left the company. No understanding why, but that comes in later on. But he works with Zach Cherry's Dylan and works with John Turturro's Irving, who are they do the same thing. They work for the same company, and they look at numbers all day and they try to figure out the bad numbers. I don't know. They're deleting numbers. It's not really clear. It's more like a monotonous type of situation because Lumen, especially on their floor, it's very monotonous. It's white walls, a 50 style computer with not much technology, and they have a couple of management people. They have Milacek, who is played by Tillman, and they have Harmony, who's played by, of course, Patricia Arquette. But that is pretty much like where the story starts out. Like Adam Scott's character is a very low, sad individual that's very, he would make anyone cry if he was around him and stuff like that. And where this show becomes truly unique in its own right is the reason for a thing called Severance. But the easiest way to explain this is we at the beginning of this episode, we have a character named Hilly, who's played by Britt, and she's an individual that wakes up on the top of a conference table, and she's talking to someone through an intercom. She's trying to escape. You find out the person that's on the intercom is, of course, Mark, who's now been promoted. And she's been under a procedure which Mark, Dylan, and Irving have been put under, which is, of course, called Severance. Now, Severance, think about it like this. What if you could detach your workplace life from your normal life, I guess you could say, and not remember either side at all? Now, that's exactly what's happening. Basically, they get this chip, this small chip, implanted into their brain. And then when they enter the building and they go up the elevator, their workplace life switches over. And then when they leave, their normal life switches over. Now, that seems cool. You don't remember your workplace. Cool, I guess. But then you got to start kind of delving deep. And this is why Hilly's character is so important to the series. What if you, as an individual in your workplace life, leaves on that elevator, it closes, and the next time that elevator opens, you're the next day, or depending on if you're taking vacation or taking, a trip or whatever, a weekend, and literally the next time that elevator opens up, you're right back in the office working. You've never seen the outside, or at least your brain is triggered to not have ever seen the outside. You work in a room with no windows or walls, except for Harmony's office, which has windows. How would that affect you? And it's the same thing when you go to work. You go in, the elevator closes. Next time it opens, you're literally walking back out again. That would be a terrible lifestyle. That is actually horrifying to think about, because that's exactly what Hilly does. Is she realizes what's happening, and she realizes that because the innies, the workplace staff, the outies, of course, the normal life people, the outie people, the outside people determine whether you can quit or not. So this character of Hilly, who's dealing with this tremendous torturous situation where she wants to quit, she's trying to leave, she can't do it because her outside self says she wants to stay and not quit, and that if she does things to herself, it'll be bad. So if you think about it, you sign up for this procedure, and then they throw in that chip in you, and you literally can't escape. You're in the 10th level of hell, basically. You're stuck in this place. You never feel like you get to leave. It doesn't matter if you take a vacation or you take a weekend. Your inside self will always come back without ever feeling like anything had happened. Now, on top of that, let's say you go on a bender the weekend, your inside self's going to feel that and not know what's happening. And that there's several points where that happens where, for instance, Irving's character was drinking or whatever. At least he think he was drinking. He's like passing out and stuff like that. It's a horrifying existence. And it's just, that's the surface level situation that's going on in this series. Because on the outside, these individuals don't know each other. They don't know they work with each other. They've never seen each other before. So Hillary's walking one way, Irving's walking. Actually, we never see Irving or Dylan Lee, so I don't know what's going on there. But we see the life of Adam Scott's Mark character, which is very sad. He lives in a community which is only 2 houses occupied. One happens to be the Patricia Arquette character, who's playing a different role because she's never had the severance thing situation. And I was thinking, I'm like, this guy's life is a boring nothingness. His sister's having a baby with this like mentally ill individual named Rickon, who was played by the guy that was the brother of the main character in Orange is the New Black. He just doesn't have anything going on for his life, and then he goes in and his work life is even more monotonous. It's a really boring existence for this character, but it's so compelling to watch because on top of that, his friend Petey, who escaped, shows up I think in the 3rd episode of the series as an individual that knows what was happening on the inside, has somehow reconnected his into the world that it was. So now he's seeing both sides. Sometimes he'll like find himself inside the office and he wanders and sleepwalks, or he'll find himself somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And it's just like, it's a horror show. It's terrifying to watch. It really is. It's just, you know, you watch this character Petey that Adam Scott was a friend with, and he has a map of like Lumen and just the nature of what happens to his character who dies because his brain just kind of completely collapses, and of the whole situation. And then on top of that, you know, this Adam Scott character is trying to go on dates and trying to, you know, help deliver his sister's baby. It's crazy. And then everything, this is why I like to do episode by episode, because there's so much information. But on the inside of Lumen, and then we have in Lumen, where a lot of the story takes place, we have this character played by Christopher Walken, who I never thought in a million years I would see something like this. But John Turturro is an individual that finds himself very much attracted to Christopher Walken's character. Christopher Walken feels the same, but it's very frowned upon. It's kind of cool to see a relationship like that. It's a very weird relationship when the simple fact is John Turturro and Christopher Walken. But the love there, the romantic relationship there is kind of fun. But Christopher Walken's character works for a different department. It's like O&D, optics and research, or whatever it is. And the thing that's going on there is there's something. We see Christopher Walken's character at first putting up paintings to this guy that started this company, and we start to see kind of a more of expansion of this whole situation, where inside the room where all the art pieces are is a much bigger room with all these people, and what they're doing hasn't even been revealed as of the 5th episode. But it starts to slowly unravel itself as Hilly starts to try to get herself out of the system of Lumen by trying to commit suicide, which doesn't go well. And then Mark is starting to question everything about this place. And, you know, Rickon actually delivers a book to Adam Scott's Mark character, his house, and Patricia Arquette's character takes it because she lives right next to Mark. They find the book in the room, the boardroom, and they read it, and it starts to kind of slowly tweak things in their brain and stuff like that. It's stuff like that you're just like, as these things start opening up and you start seeing a little bit more and more and more about Lumen, you start to realize that there's something truly off about it. Because on top of everything, Patricia Arquette's Harmony character is answering to a company called the board members, and you never see them, you never hear them. All you see is this big box that's like where the receptionist would talk to talk to the individual, and you're not really sure what's going on there. And on top of that, you go and you walk down a hallway and you hear a bunch of goats, or a bunch of small goats or whatever, young, whatever they're called. And some dude's feeding them milk and tells you to get away. And, you know, Hilly's character wonders if these goats are part of, they're killing them or whatever. It's crazy stuff like that, where you're just like, you're so off kilter and so off place of what's going on, that the first 5 episodes are just kind of completely immaculate storytelling, where it's delving into this weird being John Malkovich world with very unsettling decor and the very monotonous nature of what life and as a job is and stuff like that. And then you get into like the mysteries of like what exactly are they hiding? Is Severance a very effective thing that should be happening, or is it a very dangerous thing that happens? Because of course PD's character dies. It leads into like the nature of being slaves, the nature of being stuck in a place you don't want to be in and never being able to get out. It's the nature of, you know, the mortality of an individual, because there's instances where John Turturro's character starts seeing black goo everywhere, and I'm not sure if that's the chip kind of malfunctioning a little bit. And there's just all these moving pieces and all these openings that start to happen, and then you have the control. It's almost like a control style setting where the pieces are slowly starting to be revealed, then they're automatically shut, like snap shut again. And like you have characters like Milicek who are trying to keep that in peace, and then you have, you know, you have a therapy individual, a woman who is you know, a very weird kind of strange individual that does therapy lessons. And if the people get out of control or get out of line, they're taken to the break room where they're forced to read a sentence, a paragraph over and over and over till they conform again. And it's also a show about conformity and stuff like that too. And then they go to like the preservation hall. It leads all to the information about the guy who started the company. And it's such a good show. Like I'm skipping over pieces and parts here and there. It's a show that raises so many questions, and it tries to answer some of them, but it doesn't want to give you all the pieces of the puzzle just yet. I usually have a problem with that. I usually like, give me more and more and more. But I'm at a point in this show after 5 episodes where I just wanted to like just kind of drown me in its weirdness, drown me in its uniqueness, drown me in its just over the top craziness. That I like the slow moving pace. I like the fact that there's a handbook and it feels like they're being conformed and they're being kind of twisted and turned and manipulated and brainwise. And the fact that the idea of like wanting to not have to worry about your workplace and watching really serious situations like the hanging that Helly puts herself in, where she hangs herself to try to get back at her outie self, and to watch Mark be really upset by this and really disturbed by this as his work self, and go down an elevator and completely be fine, not realize anything whatever happened, and walk away. And it's a horrifying show, people. It's crazy. It's so bonkers that this show is going to places that it's going to. And I've heard some really good things about, you know, Ben Stiller's direction and Escape from Dannemora. I think the direction in the series is top notch. I think everybody is fantastic and Emmy worthy. I think this show's storytelling is going to go down, especially if this is just a one season run and done type of situation, as one of the great TV shows or miniseries of all time. I think it's going to be up there with like Devs and stuff like that, because it has so much cool stuff, so much cool visuals. Like even the paintings in this show are so uniquely done and so weird and kind of off-putting. It's really kind of funny because the paintings that John Turturro's Irving character really likes are the really upsetting paintings of like somebody being murdered. He sees a painting of like people of Lumen fighting against one another. Maybe there's like an uprising or something like that. And then like the paintings that are real calm and collective, he really hates. You know, it's also interesting to delve into Mark's character and his wife being killed, and that may be why his like triggering effect of why he's in this company. But I don't know. I don't know how many people have watched this show yet or have been really intrigued by it. But you guys, if you haven't watched the show, you're missing out. I mean, every episode's a 10. To be fairly honest, I know that's a big bold statement, but I never in my wildest dreams would I find another show that would be as creative and unique, which is what I love. I love uniqueness in shows, and especially when it's trying something. And even if it doesn't work properly, if it tries it and it becomes bold and unique and fun and entertaining, but also it's a thinking man show, it's a sci-fi show, it's a horror show, it does everything and does it to perfection, that's automatic 10 for me. So every episode is a 10 at this point. I don't see that changing for the entire season. So this might be the first show I ever give a 10 straight through ever in a series. Some episodes are better than others, but this series just keeps getting better and better and better. The mystery gets more and more bonkers, and everybody's perfection on the show. It works so well. And like I said, if I had started the series earlier, I would have gotten more details on each episode. But for the first 5 episodes, They're all fantastic, all Emmy-winning, award-winning series, show episodes. And once again proves that Ben Stiller and company and Dan Erickson, who's on his first show, have created something truly unique. So that's kind of where I'll leave it for episodes 1 through 5. Like I said, when I get to episodes 6, 7, 8, and 9, I'll do what I regularly do, just do episode by episode and kind of a breakdown and what I think of the episode. But yeah, 10 out of 10 so far for each and single episode of the series. So, but with that said, that is going to be my Severance spoiler-filled discussion for episodes 1 through 5 of the series. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below if you watch the series. What do you think? Do you agree with me? If you don't like something about the show, that's perfectly all right. Let me know what you don't like about it. But otherwise, if you haven't watched it, please watch. But thank you so much. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like any of the videos, awesome. Hit that like button. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of Severance. Peace out.